Hello everyone and welcome back to the Ben Mark Photography Podcast. Today I'm with Karl, who is a fellow dad. We had a good chat on a photo shoot the other day and I was like, you know what, actually we need to do something a little bit different instead of just talking about another client results or people transforming their lives. We're going to talk a little bit today about how little people have come into our lives, changed them, what we've looked at to do differently, and just how it impacts us. And I thought it would be really good because there'll be a lot of people out there that will potentially be dads or parents in the future, and just a little bit to learn from. So Karl, mate, thank you for coming on the show today.
Oh no, thank you for having me, mate. Appreciate it.
It's all good. So just give us a little quick intro to yourself.
Okay, so I've been in the fitness industry over 9 years now. I used to be in the Royal Air Force. I served for 9 years, and then when I left, I had the classic transformation. So I thought I can be a PT myself, easy peasy. Finding out it's not quite like that, but yeah. Then started out as a personal trainer at Pure Gym. I worked in a couple of commercial gyms, and I went into a couple of private studios. And I was trying to make the transition online a couple of years ago before COVID, and then COVID hit and it took me online anyway. So I've now become an online coach, which is perfectly aligned, of course, what we're going to talk about today, because we had our son literally 2020, August the 1st unfortunately it was in between lockdowns, but it was in COVID. So I had the chance for me to basically be at home with him while he was growing up. So massively helped. So, which has led me on to where I am now.
It's awesome, bud. It's it was interesting that stage because obviously Dylan was only born a month after yours, and it was weird because obviously like being new parents, like neither of us had. Well, I hadn't had any classes or anything like that, like to teach anything. You're just suddenly just thrown in the deep end, like here's a baby. Good luck.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I think with Freddie, I even got the books and everything like that, and I'll be honest, I didn't read them because you hear what other people say and everyone's got their own thing. But then also the people that I feel that you do listen to, they just say, listen, you'll just pick it up as you go along. And it has seemed to be in that case. You're right, because the classes and stuff, because you normally go in person, we were trying to do them a little bit online, but they just, didn't end up getting done really. But so we're just learning as we go.
It's interesting, isn't it? Most of it is kind of just common sense, isn't it? Most of it is just don't throw them off of a cliff. And when they don't sleep, just try and look after them.
It pretty much especially when they're firstborn, you think that's the hard part. It's just the sleep deprivation, isn't it? But
that's how. Did you find anything other than just trying to sleep when you could?
That was the advice that everyone gives you. I'm not going to lie. People are going to hate me here now. Don't hate me. I slept in the other room. So it was Haley, my wife, who was sleep deprived because we just thought, bear with, is the fact that I thought if I wake up in the morning because if Freddie's had a bad night's sleep, I can then take him and then get her rest. If we're both in the same room together, I just didn't see the point because then we're both awake. I can't really do anything because Haley was breastfeeding, so I couldn't do anything. So I was just basically there to support her, yes, but I'd rather support her and actually let her get some sleep in the morning. So that's how we sort of did it. But at first, Freddie was tough. He was up every 45 minutes. So to be honest with you, sleep deprived. I didn't honestly feel it. I did at times, but seeing what happened to my wife Haley, wow, it was scary. What sleep deprived, what it does for your sleep deprivation is horrendous.
Yeah, it's crazy, isn't it? And the thing is, it's that thing of that also the side of it is you need to kind of look after all of it. The reality of it is like you need to be able to just make sure there is a roof over your head, food on the table, all of that type of thing. So deep down that, okay, I need to be able to perform my job well, I need to be able to do what I need to do in order to keep us going. And as much as it's crap, and obviously I've had enough nights where I've stayed up with Dylan, tried to look after him, trying to help him out, and then let my wife have some rest. Like if I've had a chance to be at home for a couple of days and so on, I've gone and slept in the room with him or whatever like that. But yeah, everyone always goes on. I can understand from females' point of view the actual birth process, as much as it's a short amount of time in the grand scheme of everything. The hardest bit is then coming home and just going, right, now I have to think about other people. Like it's almost no longer about you anymore. Like it doesn't, the amount of things I do that literally it obviously impacts me, but the amount of things that I now go and do in order to give my family a better life, not even thinking about the consequences of what it's doing to me.
Yeah, 100%. People say that to you, don't they, about the whole, obviously, a life's over as such in regards to it's not your own. And of course, you don't feel what they're talking about until it actually happens. I mean, it's so true. It really is. I mean, that's don't get me wrong, I wouldn't change it. That's our choice, but you haven't experienced it. You don't know what it's like, but it is. You're right. Every decision that you make is not the forefront thing. Is not normally it would be how does this make me feel? How would this do for me? It's not. It's right. What will this do for him? What will it do for our family? You know what I mean? So it's massive.
Do you, I know I've definitely found that, I know we kind of briefly touched on this the other day on the shoot, but actually, when you actually do what you love and then you've got passion in it, it does in somewhat make that easier to do the job and do the hard bits. I couldn't imagine working in a job that I don't like and having to go through all of that stuff. Like, you can see why couples break up and rooms get broken.
100%. Like, you make such a good point there, because you're right, through the fact that, and also what it's done was, because I've now become online, to be able to have the chance to have no more time with him. You're right, you do love it more. And fortunately, like I said, well, you could say we're not lucky. We chose the jobs that we're in for a reason. Like, we're passionate about what we do. We love it. And yeah, God forbid, I had a job that I hated while trying to raise a baby. Oh my days, mate. Like I said, through the sleep deprivation, we got a sleep expert in. Because I tell you what, Haley, me and her were on the brink. Like, I'm not even going to lie. Like, we could have easily broke up because of like what it was doing to us, and in regards to, we got something into that. But in regards to what you asked the question, the job wise, it was still a pleasure to work. So it didn't have that side. Whereas the times where you're tired, you're deprived, you're sleep deprived, you're maybe upset, frustrated, but then I've got a job that I love, and that's okay to fall back on, and that was okay. But yeah, both of us love our job, so it's a bonus.
It's incredible because I mean, when it cuts down to all of it, like, I know you've got a good relationship, and obviously you guys, I've never really heard you. Everyone's got their own little bickering things that we always talk about, but like, the general thing of it is, we know our partners, love them to bits, do anything for them. It's funny how the bickering typically stems from just frustration. It's like, you don't know what to do. You can't really change the situation. You just know you've got to go through it. But that doesn't necessarily make it any easier. Like, we both know the outcome is in 10 to 15 years, we'll be sitting there having a laugh with them. They'll come back telling our stories, and like, I was 18, I went out and did this, and you'd be like, there's my boy, there's my girl, whatever it is.
Yeah.
But those early stages. And it's also like, I suppose the frustration is you don't know what else to try, because your brain almost gets fried. You're like, much like me, I work long hours, I do a lot to try and support everything. It's then like like, you're doing all of that, you're trying to help to be the best, and you're thinking, right, okay, like, we've got to work as a team here, not just think, oh, what makes this easier for just that person.
That's the biggest thing, is communication. That's something that I learned. And I'll be honest, a shout out to like Mark Coles, like, who was our one-to-one mentor. He helped me so much in regards to lockdown, because communication was something that I've never been. When I was in the RAF and I was like independent, I just didn't have anyone to sort of answer to. Obviously, you have your bosses and stuff like that. In regards to my own choices in my life, it was all on me. I could do what I wanted. Then, of course, when I met Haley, that changed a little bit. Then, of course, when you have someone else come into your life, then again, it changed again. But I really, like I said, the communication aspect of it, I would just do my own thing and then not think about, like, as a team talking about, Haley, what we're going to do here. And then it always caused friction. It always, like I said, it was because nothing was talked about beforehand. The thing would happen. Like Freddie would, like, said it was a bad night or whatever it is, we'd just clash straight away, because we're not talked about it, we're not worked out. This is what we're going to do. This is how we're going to work. Like I said, and that's where, as soon as we started communicating and started establishing a routine, and it might sound a bit tedious and a bit anal, and people, like I said, most people wing things, and it just never. Then that's where the bad things happen, because you're not prepared for what's going to happen. Whereas, as soon as we start communicating and have a good idea what we're going to do going forward, Haley knew I've got to do the job, I've got to run the business. Of course, I would help where I can. And we had that time. I would tell her, right, these are the times we're going to finish. This is the time we're going to start. So it can't be where if she comes and asks me to do something, like, well, I'm working. I'm like, well, we didn't know what we were doing. So that was massive. And like I said, Mark literally rammed that home to me, and the fact you just got to start talking to her. it sounds really daft. You talk about your tedious things, but I'm talking like real stuff. Like we need to start planning now what we're going to be doing because beforehand we didn't have to plan. We didn't have a baby.
Yeah,
Is that what
it
you
was
do? Would you say that's what you do?
yeah, like I think the more my business has grown, obviously one of the big problems I had was, and obviously part of the reason why this gym got opened was we just come out, well, we were in the second lockdown, and obviously by that point I was still able to work. And so I was getting busy, although I wasn't out every day. All I had was to just sit on my laptop on the on the sofa. I didn't have anywhere to go to. Obviously, coffee shops and all that lot were closed.
Yeah.
So I could still legally go and work with people if I wasn't close to them. But then I'd come home and sit down and, like, you know, naturally, it's not that my wife's just nagging or anything like that, but she'd say, oh, can you do this? Can you help with this? Because she's just seeing me sitting there working with my laptop. And you can understand why, you know, we watch films on laptops, we play games, we buy stuff on laptops. Like, she's then seeing me sat there working. I'm like, I need to get this lot done. Like, because if this falls behind, then we don't pay the bills, we don't have a house over our head. And so, like, I've made it fairly clear, like, today's a Monday. Like, Mondays are my day to get everything done. If I get Monday right, the rest of my week typically goes really well. If it doesn't, then I'm on a catch up and I'm like, oh, okay, what time can I find to catch up with everything? And, you know, through, I suppose, obviously, like, you look at your diary and, like, when they first come along, you're with them every second. Now Dylan's a bit older, he's going to a childminder. You know, my parents have him for a couple of hours on a Monday. Like, there's little gaps in the week that now Jade can go and do a few of the things that she needs to do or wants to do. And also, you know as well that if they get a little bit of time to just do their thing, you get a happier week. They're happier, you know, there's less issues involved. And, you know, I completely saw that side of things and I was like, right, okay, from the time that I've got to work and the travelling I was doing and all of that stuff, I mean, last year was particularly hard because of just the business growth. Like, I just couldn't have expected it. And obviously, for you guys online, you can be in your office at home, and if something really happens, you can go down tools and go and help. I can't do that when I'm in Newcastle.
This is the thing I do. I would never sort of, I feel like justified to moan so much to the point to what you do. It's like, I'm at home. It's okay. You're right. I'm waiting on messages. Unless it's something like this, I can, every little sort of brief moment, I can go out and sort of help Hayley as such. But with yourself, you're not physically there. So it's so much harder.
But and then the thing is, I also know what I do with that. So then I plan more time off. I just have to look at it that way and go, right, okay, look, what can we build around us that supports Jade as much as possible? You know, that's the way I've looked at it is, okay, you know, my dad was working for me, like, you know, he was in a position in that when Dylan was a bit younger and like, he'd come into the gym while Jade was training. My dad would just look after him for 40 minutes while Jade was training, so I could work. They would have a little bit of bonding time. You know, you get those little things, you just find those little things that you can do. You know, and then all of a sudden we're looking at our work, like our week, and Jade's, you know, seeing me out working every day. And I know deep down, I mean, I know she's going to listen to this because I've already told her we're talking about being dad, so I know she'll be listening to this. But, you know, we was in Dubai in January and we sat down and said, like, I know that she's got clients that are asking her for hairdressing. And we was looking at it going, right, okay, like, when we met, I'll go right back to the very start. I said, what do you want to be? What do you want to do? Like, this was obviously while we're dating and just seeing with all this. And at the time, I wasn't even shooting photos. Like, this was before I was even a photographer. She said, I want to have a family. So I knew deep down there was nothing about her that says, I want to run a big business. I want to, you know, run my own hairdressing thing. I know she does do her own hairdressing thing, but she was never like, it's not her be all and end all. She wanted to be a family, wanted to have that close thing. So every step of it has been about how can I create this life for her that allows her to just go and be a mum and enjoy the time with him. I know that you get the crap times when they, you know, nappies are full and throwing everything all over the place and being sick, but then you also get the fun times of, you know, little play times and stuff. I was like, how can I create that life for her so that then she can enjoy as much of it as possible before he grows up, whatever. So as we were looking at our schedule thing, we were looking like, okay, like if you want to go and put him with a childminder for a couple of hours on another day, because he already goes on a Friday. We were like, if he goes for another couple of hours on that day, if you did want to go and get some of your clients done, you can go and do that. If you wanted to just have a few hours for yourself. But it's only when you hit those hurdles you can kind of deal with them. It's really difficult, like when someone says, oh, you're going to have a kid, what are you going to do? You've got no idea. It's like if I punch you in the face right now, you don't know it's going to happen. You can't really prepare for it.
No, you can't, especially when you've never experienced it exactly. Like you can hear to people what people's their own experiences, and you can value that, but never in it yourself. Like every single second of every single day of what's going on, and this is why me and you were so like similar. The fact that my wife's also a hairdresser, the fact that your ambitions are to try and do that for Jade is exactly the same for me with Hayley. I want her. There are brief moments where, of course, when, like I said, Freddie's having a bad day and stuff like that, yeah, or certain moments, but overall, how happy she is with her life. Like we've just come back from Mexico. I said, you haven't got to go back to a job. I mean, the thing is though, and it is for all the moms and stuff that are listening, I do feel, honestly, hand on heart, your job is harder than any job anyway. Like being a mum, 100%. Like hard. Like when I was in Mexico for the first week, because I'm not used to being with him like 24/7, I must admit for the first couple of days, Hayley was like saying to me, it's like you don't even want to be here. What's the matter? I was like, I'll be honest, I'm just struggling. I'm just not used to being with a baby like 24/7 as such. And it sounds daft because Freddie's like 19 months, but I'm not used to being with him all the time like you are. That's why all the mums out there, like I must admit, I'm going to be a really like comes across a bad person. I used to be that classy, when women used to share on things like being a mum is not is a job and all that. I'll be honest, when I was younger, I was like, what are they on about? Now I'm like, what an idiot that person was. Like, you are the best people in the world, because like I said, even for a couple of days I struggled. Hayley's with them all the time, but she wouldn't have it any other way, and that's the thing as well.
I think it's also, I completely get it, because also I realise that I think deep down for me, I want to be the role model for Dylan, that when life gets to this place, like I want to prove like what he can do, what he's capable of doing. However, Jade is very much, a very caring, loving, wants to just help him and give him the best life. And so she knows that sacrifice is making sure that everything else is done and everything else is sorted and all of that type of stuff. But yeah, hands down, like it is tiring. I can completely get it. Like Jade's literally wiped out every evening. We go and sit down on the sofa, and I know straight away within 10 minutes it's like she'll just go to bed. There's no point even sitting on this sofa. We should go straight to bed. Yeah. But it is, and the thing is, I think as well now, like especially like that, ours are both obviously similar age now, where like they play a bit more. Like those first early stages of, you just don't know what to do with them because they don't do anything. Like he'd literally just sit there, he'd either cry, he'd poo, he would sleep.
Yeah.
Then he'd cuddle up with you, and that was it. And you just sit there and kind of go, well, I know I need to get on with stuff.
Yeah.
I should be around him. And then it's then now he wants to play more. And now, like when I leave the house, like obviously because I have to leave the house every day, he's getting upset when I leave.
Harder, it's much harder.
And you suddenly then go, Christ, like this thing really actually likes me just being around. Even if it's like just sitting next to him, he just likes me being around. And it's very different from, the life where you just kind of, now you go to work, you're expected to just go and do stuff, you're expected to go and do things, and all of a sudden you've just got this little person that's just looking at you going, play.
Yeah. It's mad, isn't it?
Right, and I think when I worked on the golf tour before, obviously I spent weeks away from home, and every single one of them said to me, and they were all, everyone I worked with is 40s upwards, like typically, and they were all just saying, I wish I had more time at home with my kids, I wish I had more time with this, and it was like, I kind of get it now, like because he's grown so quick. Like we're taking him to this little kickers thing.
Seen that one, amazing.
Mate, and it's brilliant just watching him just running up, and he's just getting excited, and every week he's just learning that little something. There's me thinking, he should be able to do kick-ups by now. Yeah, he can barely run straight. But like, it's that little thing of like he's just learning a little bit more, and he's picking things up, and he just wants to adventure and explore. And I could, you can see part of yourself in him where he's just like, he wants to go and do things, and he's quite confident, and he just wants to play, and he's like very kind and caring. Like he runs up to the kids and like handed kids like the cones and stuff like that, and you're just thinking like, okay, like now I'm seeing a personality. The first like 6 months of it, I have to admit, I was just like, I cuddle up with him, he lays on my chest, kind of hand him back over because he wasn't really doing anything, and then now it's a lot more fun, and now that's why I'm finding myself now going, right, okay, like I'm putting more stricter boundaries in place to go, I want to be at home.
Yeah, I think, yeah, right, with the dad, and they do, again, people sort of say, in your first 6 months of stuff, it is about, let's be honest, it is about the mum. It's about the mum, like their relationship they have with the baby. That's what they're for, especially Hayley. She was breastfeeding and stuff like that. I was just there to support her. Don't get me wrong, Now is getting towards our time. Do you know what I mean? I knew it was going to come. For me, it wasn't like, because you hear a lot of dads say they feel a little bit lonely because they're not having that relationship, that bond with their child. But I knew it was going to come for me. I was always excited for the next bit. Don't get me wrong, I don't wish time away. Like watching Freddie and develop, like every single day is the most exciting thing. I know, like on holiday, we learned him the fist pump from a high five, and just even that, I was like, how incredible is that? Like just learning that in the moment, and I see it all the time, and it is amazing. But I know, like, even more so exciting that we're going to be best mate. Well, we are best mates, but do you know what I mean? That bond where instead of where, like you said, as a newborn baby, it's just about the mom and make sure she's okay and he's getting everything that he needs. But we're now going to get our time now. And you're right. I want for you as well to have as much time as you can. I know you want to, because it is so special. And a lot of people, like I said, if we're going out with jobs and stuff, like 9 to 5, for example, you can dictate what your hours are. I know you work really hard, but at least, like I said, you can get that quality time with him.
How do you find the balance of, like, because I know when we spoke before, you was in quite a comfortable place, and then you said you want to push a little bit more and see what you're capable of. And how do you find that balance of going from, okay, I want to be around Freddie, I want to be around to just do stuff, and then go, now I need to get my head down, or like when you've got an idea in your brain you want to operate, but you know it's family day.
Yeah, that's the tough one. I mean, Friday is always our family day, and I'm meant to have off. I've just recently took on a new mentor, and I was just really giddy to get keen to get work done. And then literally there's a little bit of friction because Haley's like, I thought you were meant to be like off today, and I was like, well, it's because I've got this. And again, I think for me, is my diary is my gospel, and then if I stick to that rigidly, I've this literally just revamped it again to what my new hours are, and I've given Haley a copy and to go, right, these are my hours. Don't get me wrong, if obviously something like serious with Freddie comes along, of course, priority comes in. Like I will like shut everything down. But really, these are my hours, and I promise that I will stick to these, and then we'll get our quality time. Like every Friday, Saturday, Sunday is our time. I will get back to messages with my clients, of course I will, stuff like that. But to be honest with you, that they can come back to as and when, unless it's an emergency. But that is dedicated to them, and I will ensure that I need to get better on this. I need to improve on this. It's just coming away from actual phone. It's actually being in the moment. I have times of feeling guilty, whereas like if Freddie, I'm going to be honest here, and I could be a bad dad here, but like Freddie like fell over the other day. Babies fall over at the time, and he didn't really hurt himself or anything. He cried, of course. I was on my phone, and it's disgusting. Like I shouldn't have done that, and it's really bad. And I learned from that, and to know that when he's like there, our time is not for me to be looking at my phone. And I want to as well. This is the thing; it's just a habit, isn't it? Let's be honest. We all do it. It's a bad habit we're in, like being distracted by other things. So for me, it's just it's knowing what's my work time, what's my family time, and also as well, I need to make sure I include in time for me as well, selfishly. And same with her, Haley. You what you said before, like. Hey, Freddie's finally going to nursery because Haley's, well, we've been looking after him. He's not had anything like that. He started his easing in days last week. So he's going to be going to nursery 2 days a week. And then also my mum's going to have him for half a day. So again, I want Haley to start having that life that she needs now, because like I said, her quality of life is amazing with Fred, but she needs to have some adult interaction. You know what I mean?
Yeah, not just like talking about like trying to teach them words and stuff like that. Like needs to actually have serious conversations. They need to have their girly time to air their thoughts and everything. And it's interesting. I think it comes from the nature of us wanting to solve all the problems.
Yeah,
I'm very much a problem solver. Like I love it. Like when someone says to me, "I've got this," and like my brain goes, "Yes, I can solve a problem." The second I start thinking of something, I'm like, I might not know every answer, but I know there'll be an answer out there, and I know I can find it. And that's where the thing comes from. Like when you're trying to, even if a new client gets in touch and you're like, oh, I don't want to let this go, but I need to be with my little one, and I'm like, almost, what's the minimum I can get away with doing to just move this to the right place? Because you don't want to lose it at the same time, because you know how hard you have to work for it. But then at the same time, you're like, this is probably going to benefit Dylan in the future. You know, whatever, this bit of work and whatever I can take as a bit of profit to then, give myself a better life. I mean, Dylan's been on more planes in 18 months of his life than I did in 15 years of my life.
We said that,
And it's crazy. I don't even think about it. And, it's part of my life now. I just travel and I just get on a plane and go places. And it's
that's where that communication comes in, where to know that you don't want to lose that, and to think, is this moment here, don't get me wrong, obviously being quality time, but if you think you could even just say, I could say to Hayley and go, listen, I've got a potential client here. Is it okay if I just sort of take this? And she'll go, yeah, no problem. Or again, it's that's that communication I think is massive.
Yeah, and I think there's also when you, because also sometimes that like where your time is a bit limited. Obviously, like you've been quite good with yours and structured yours. Obviously, mine can get thrown in the works. Obviously, like for example, when I shot with you the other day, I only got to Liverpool at 1 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah.
And then it was only like then I was up at about half five to then get to the gym. We didn't get to Wales till 9 o'clock in the evening from leaving you. Then after the second shoot after you, and then the following day I didn't get home till 6 o'clock in the evening. We was back up at 5 to go to Nottingham the following day. And so my time can just completely just disappear from me if traffic's bad, or fortunately now opening the gym, I'm here a lot more. But I have found it's not always I don't think it's the right excuse all the time, but I often do find then that when Jade and I get moments or like we've had opportunities, I will often try and do something, whether it, not it's just down to money, but like, can we do that thing that's just that little bit nicer, or can we do that thing that just makes it feel a little bit more special, so that then all of that hard work and the time where you've put all of that in, you kind of go, I'm trying to justify this now and just making our lives a little bit better. Like if we can, not worry about the food bill. If we're going out for dinner, can we just not care where we're eating? Not that we're going out and eating caviar every night and having £500 meals, but like if we wanted to, can we go and justify that because we're not in this position where I've worked hard enough for it? And I think, especially we tried to do with Dylan, like it's like he goes swimming once a week, he's going to football once a week, like he's going to the childminders. We're trying to get him out and doing as much stuff because it's just like, I'm not going to work this hard and put this much effort into grow something and him not benefit out of it. Like he needs to just get as much as he can out of it, and then his path, whatever he takes in life, will be formed by just what he enjoys, and hopefully all the lessons that me and you learn from doing these things, like growing a bigger business, like trying to employ staff, trying to run a premises, trying to do all these things, will then, the way I like to think of it is in 20 years time, when he gets to that point where he's getting into the business world, it's like, what do you need help with?
Yeah. The more we get out of our comfort zones, the more we have our experiences, the more we can help our child. Like if we're not doing anything as such, or we're just working that sort of, and again, not frowned upon like the sort of standard 9-to-5 job, but if you're one of the people that doesn't get out of your comfort zone, just try lots of different things. Like again, for us, we're able to pass on like all our experiences, and I know for yourself has, and I know I have. Like, so yeah, his choices will be his own, but we can only like steer him as much as we can into obviously what we think is right for them. And I think that's only a good thing for him, like giving him all the best opportunities.
How long was you in the RAF?
I was in for 9 years. I joined when I was 18 and I left when I was 27. I was an air traffic controller, but I'll be honest, I was forced my hand to join the RAF because basically I didn't know what I was doing in my life. I was in a bad place in regards to how I felt about myself. I was anxious, angry, didn't do well in school, didn't do well in college, which leading to the point where basically my dad was in the served for 22 years. And he just said, listen, mate, you're going to have to go in the RAF. I was very apprehensive at first and I didn't want to. And he just pretty much headlocked me, which I'm glad he did. Thank God he did, because I don't know what I'd be doing now. To the point where, like I said, I was an air traffic controller. I didn't really enjoy the job itself. I enjoyed the experience of being in the RAF and obviously the camaraderie I had with like the people that I worked with. But it was then where I had my transformation in regards to my body, and I lost like over 5 stone. I did it through a lot of the bad ways and stuff like which I've talked about before, but I then like found a passion for fitness, and because of what it did for me, I then thought, well, this could be something that I'd like to maybe potentially do and help others. I still didn't have a clue what I was doing when I was 27 when I left, but I learned on the job, and it's been amazing. I would never, people say to me, why wouldn't you be an air traffic control civilian? I was like, for one, I was crap at it. And for two, the stress, I just couldn't even handle it. And also, like I said, I found my passion. I literally found my passion. Like I think this is where, again, the positivity I've found in myself is, and it's took me a long, long time. I'm 36 now. Everything you do in life, every mistake that you make, for everything that you failed, you think, what does it lead you to? What to do? You've got to flip it on its head and think every positive. For me, not doing well in school, not doing well in college, really not. I didn't succeed in the RAF, but I served my country and I'm proud of what I've done. But it pushed me into doing what I'm doing now, and that's however long it took bloody hell 20 years. But I've been a coach over 9 years now, and I can be honest, I'm very, very good at my job because I love it. You know what I mean? And I work hard at it. So like you do. So
The thing is, it's weird how easy it comes. Like, I don't even think about taking photos now. Like, I literally just, I know what to adjust. I don't even look at the numbers. I just know, scroll around things. I know what works, know what happens. It's amazing how easy it becomes when you just already know the answers. Like, when someone's going to message you about something. When was the last time you had to really go and research something?
that
To
when
go
I first
like,
started, when you think about it, it's not at all. It is crazy. You pretty much think the classic is I'll go find out, but you just know it. You do. You just know it because obviously we narrow it down to what we know that we do. We're not naive into think we stay in our lane. I mean, God forbid I pick the account. You're incredible what you do, like, and I think like in scars myself. So we shouldn't get asked questions that really we don't know of because we niche what we do. We know what we're good at. I've always known is not. I led a sheltered life in the raft. My Haley takes the mick at me because I can't put up a shelf, but I don't care. I don't like doing that sort of thing. I don't enjoy it. I just do what I do. I'll pay someone else to put up a shelf. I'm not bothered about doing it. So this is the thing. I know what I'm good at, and that's why, like I said, I don't have to think twice about it because I love it.
that's my problem. Is I try it because I think, well, it can't be that difficult. That's my problem. Like, honestly, putting the stuff up in this gym, like when we were putting the mirrors on the wall, me and my dad were doing it. My dad, if I say anything about wood, his face goes like a kind of like boy that's just been told off. Like, we built a cube in my gym, and my dad looked at me as if like, oh, I've got to do woodwork, and I was like, honestly, Dad, we've got to cut a few bits of wood, screw it together. It really can't be that difficult. And just doing all these little things, and then afterwards you go, oh yeah, that would make sense. And there's all these little things that you just think like, if you get someone who knows what they're doing, they find it super easy because they just think the right way and they do it.
Yeah.
Out of interest with what you said there, like your dad forcing you into it, like, and I imagine at the time it was probably quite a hard pill to swallow. How do you feel you'll do if that ever happens the other way around, when it's your turn to?
With Freddie, wow, that's a very good question. I think again, I can only just fall back on my own experiences and just think long term. It's just listen. I think also an element. My dad just obviously sort of maybe didn't even communicate with me to see how I actually felt about it. He just sort of like forced my hand, which you could say you could look back on, which again, thank God it did end up being a good thing. But one thing I'd say I'd learned from that, I'd say, is make sure I do actually, hopefully Freddie can tell me how he feels. And if there's something isn't quite right, God forbid so it doesn't sort of get to that point for him. But I just think I want to make sure that it's his decision and it's right for him. The classic is if obviously someone, old school, isn't it? Parents, you do what I done and all this. And I always say, like, if Freddie wants to be a coach, he can be a coach. Of course he can. Like, it's all built for him. But of course he has to want to do it and he has to love it. If he's going to be good at what he does, he has to love it. But yeah, I'd want to make sure that he tells me how he feels. Like, I'd always want the best for him, but I got what I think is, but at the end of the day, it's about his decisions. So I think I'd just make sure I'd listen to him and then just advise him and then see and then if he takes it or not, hopefully we'll see what happens.
If you were to think back, I'm pushing on these things because I think it's actually like people get to hear different sides of it. If you were to think back and then your dad was to say to you, okay, like, tell me how you feel about this, and listened into it, do you reckon the outcome would have still been the same?
I think maybe just the fact that he's asked me the question to maybe even tell me out loud to where I'm at, then that could also reiterate what it is he's coming from, and then it could say, oh, actually you're probably right, where it was just sort of, you do this and then straight away I'm going to rebel, aren't I? So if someone tells you what to do, normally you'll sort of be like, well, I'm not happy with that. Or especially if it's in the situation I wasn't doing well, so you need to do this. It's like, all right, okay. So it's like a failure, like you're going to get put in the raft. But I think if, like I said, it's like that communication, it could have been like, well, this is why, then it would have made my like decision a lot easier. Well, it wasn't a decision in the end. It was just sort of happened. But yeah,
Bags and you're off.
yeah, pretty much like old school, proper old school. And it is me. Like my dad maybe listened to this and stuff like that. And I love my dad, and I'm so glad that he did do that for me. He was an amazing role model for me. And like I said, thank God he did. So because I don't know what I'd be doing now if I didn't join the RAF. But yeah, it's just, again, things evolve, don't they, Ben? Like the way we talk even to our children, I'm sure the way my parents spoke to me, and I have a really good relationship with my dad, and he tells me his relationship with his dad, it was so old school. He didn't even have any sort of real conversations. It was never like, it was just him, the dad, my granddad, dictating what it should be to him, until fortunately my dad left to join the RAF as well, so then he could become his own self. If he stayed at home, he would have just been controlled by my granddad. Whereas now it's just different. Like the way you even parent my brother talks to me. He's a parent of Leah's 13 and Oliver's 9. It's just different. It's a lot more of you're in still control. You're at the end of the day, you're the parent as such, but it's a lot more of a two-way thing. It's not right. You're doing this, you're doing that. And of course, Freddie can't even talk yet, but that will happen.
I was talking to Jade about it. Well, I was actually talking to my dad. We'll skip back to another point, but I was talking to my dad because we were listening to. Do you ever listen to Stephen Bartlett, the Diary of a CEO, the podcast?
I don't know. I've heard of it. I don't know. I
so
haven't
we
know.
were listening to whose podcast? It could have been either Rio Ferdinand or Patrice Evra, and it was really interesting.
So it is. It's good.
Real interesting to like listen to. And I said to my dad, "Did you ever have any plans for me as a kid? Like, did you ever think, oh, he'll go into this?" Like, my dad was predominantly a lorry driver for most of his life. Not that he's gone, but he's like just, you know, that's what he's done most of his life. And then obviously he's done other bits and pieces. And it was really interesting in asking him the question, because I never would have asked, that's not the question I would have asked my dad like 10 years ago, 15 years ago, before I was doing all of this stuff.
You've made me think that. My dad, you've made me think to ask him that, yeah.
Yeah, and it's almost like, it was interesting to then hear it. My dad's a very like kind, caring person. He's not the type of guy that like instantly wants to put up a fight or anything like that. He's not like too forceful, but it was interesting like listening to that and having that conversation with him, because it was only because of the fact that he was working for me that he was in the car with me to have that conversation. Otherwise, I never would have just phoned my dad up and go, "Dad, did you ever plan for me?" Like not like plan to have me, as in like plan for me when I was here and like what I was going to do. And it is very interesting, because you kind of think, like, I've said to myself, I don't care what Dylan does, as long as he puts his heart and soul into it. My dad said to me years ago when I played football, as long as you put 110% in, I don't care what you do. And for some reason, that's stuck with me ever since. Like, I don't care what it is. When I've been in the gym dieting, like, I put the effort in. When I've been doing my business, I put the effort in. Like, and it's trying to put that into place when you are doing things like that. Like, when I'm spending time with Dylan, it's like, put that time in with him. Like, try and do new things. Like, we got him a little bike recently, like trying to teach him just how to do little things like that. And you just see his little enjoyment on his face. You're like, yeah, I've taught someone something. Like, that feels good. You can see it. And it always makes you think, the best things that have ever happened to me have honestly been when people have thought the least of me. Like, when I said before I was going to die, and my old boss said to me, "No, you won't." And I actually got on really well with him. The best thing I ever did was say that I wouldn't, because I went and proved him wrong. When people wasn't sure that I'd be able to make, like, my mum wasn't particularly sure that I'd be able to make this business out of it, because she wanted the safe route of me but being employed. Financially now, I'm in a very different place. Yeah, if I'd listened to that, and it's very interesting I think you have to understand it, and I think we'll understand it more as we get older, that the things that you say are from the feelings that you know that you went through and you want to protect them from, yet at the same time you need them to go through that experience to be able to learn how to deal with that.
Yeah, so 100%. I think also from our experiences of what we've done with Grow as people, like, also what I don't want to happen is what I want for Freddie is for him to just do the same, like to have that same confidence, to have that same, like, not have that fear factor of, like, for me, for example, leaving the RAF was just such a massive thing in my life, and scary. Everyone was saying you shouldn't leave, like you shouldn't go, certainly not self-employed, there's no jobs out there in civilian world and all that sort of thing. And it was a scary thing, but I wasn't happy, so I had to leave. At the end of the day, whether it was a failure or not, I wasn't happy in what I was doing. And people have become so content just staying unhappy, and whether it's in their body as in regards to who they are, or their job, or their relationship, or anything like that. God, you only live once. Like, I had to leave, and same with that happened in the commercial gym. I become unhappy. I could have said, yeah, I'm content, I'm earning okay, but I wasn't happy. So, and I want to really, that's the one thing I do want to ingrain into Freddie. Like, do never ever just be content being like just unhappy, or whether it just okay. Strive for the best, absolute best, and only good things will happen because of that. And what it gives you is that confidence and excitement and everything of what life should be.
Exactly. Right, I'm going to throw a couple of last questions at you, then I'm going to have to go.
Okay, my man.
Are you happy?
Good question. I am happy. I'm very, very happy. there's brief moments where sometimes obviously I'm not, but overall, for the situation I've put myself in regards to what I do is I compare it to what I used to be. I'm not doing wrong. I am extremely happy and I've got nothing else to compare after that. I might become happier, but yeah, I'm very, very happy in my life where I've got it to. And not only in my own career and what I have done in my life, but also I'm very happy in my relationship. I'm also happy with my family where I live. I've recently moved from Southampton to Liverpool, which is something I never thought I'd be able to do in my life, be closer to my family, and then to have like an amazing life with my son. Yeah, very happy.
Good.
Can I ask you the same question?
I am. Yeah, I literally. It's funny. Ever since leaving what I did before, um, even when it's shit, like I had to let go of my dad recently, working with me,
Yeah,
which wasn't a happy moment, but I realised that I'd overstretched myself with what I was capable of doing. Not overstretched myself. I think I was pushing too fast, whereas I needed to, especially with everything I was trying to do at home, I was trying to just do too many things. And my dad was being brilliant about it. He said, look, I've been able to help you. That makes me feel good. Even for all of the shit bits, I still get up every morning. I still have a laugh with my wife. Like I still act like a 5-year-old.
yeah.
Because
Yeah.
I also know that all of this could go away and I'd still be all right. I literally
100%.
couldn't care. Like, I'm not chasing money. I just chase being happy, and I get to make people feel good. I get to give them potential business insights or like kind of different visions on things, because I get to meet so many people. I get to see so many different paths. So it's taught me a lot about what makes me feel good, and I created a life. If I look at it, like
Yeah.
I've created a human that's going to change the world. Like regardless of if he does anything major or small, he's still going to change the world. He's still going to meet someone. He's still going to bump into someone that might lead them to go into hospital, that meets someone, I don't know, whatever, like just these little
Yeah.
things. I just look at it and go like, what's there not to be happy about? Yeah, I mean, trust me, you could be in Ukraine right now and, fucking no, that's horrible. And you look at those types of things and go, I just got up this morning, went to the gym and got on with my day.
I think sometimes even like the bad points makes you also appreciate the good times.
100%.
Like my job, like, so again, I can't believe how much I love my job. For us to have the opportunity to change people's lives for the better, like what's more better than that? Like there's nothing.
You know
Nothing.
what it means as well. You know what
Yeah,
someone did that to you, like your dad did that to you, and you'd probably go, just thank you.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
What does Benmark photography mean to you?
Denmark for me is an opportunity to like just completely get my comfort zone, like to have the conversations that I have with you, and to have someone to relate to and have someone to bounce off. And I can't believe how much like we have got like things in
That
common. And
first conversation was very interesting, wasn't it?
it
It was
was
just like,
mad.
hang
I
on.
really didn't. I just known you from afar, and I just knew you were really good at your job. But then, obviously, like I said, you get to have a conversation. You're like, wow, I actually like have a lot in common with this guy, and yeah, he's really easy to talk to. But you've just helped me so much, mate. Like not only obviously in regards to my content and how much more professional my business looks because of you, but also I literally I was I can say I did the yearly subscription with Ben, and to the point where just again constantly meeting him. So I've met him 3 times now. As well as to have chats. It's want me to do it again, and not even just because of how good you are at your job, because I just love having conversations with you, and it's enough for me. It is enough to like pay for that. So yeah,
I
you've done a
appreciate it.
lot for me.
What's the one thing you would change about you to do even more in your life?
Again, that's amazing. I just keep wanting to grow as a person and keep learning and keep trying to just be a better person, as in regards to everything better in my job. I'm always, like I said, I've just started a new mentorship. I want to be the best at what I do for other people and also myself. I want to be the best dad. I want to be the best husband. I'm constantly reassessing who I am and how I am as a person and wanting to be better. Like just that holiday to Mexico was a massive learning curve for me in regards to spending time like with Freddie all the time. I got better as the time gone on. I'll never sort of just think negative on myself or even, God forbid, have excuses. I'll always think, right, how can I be better? Because of ultimately, that's obviously only going to make me happier. So I can always be better. I can always be better. And I'm always striving to be. And I think that's massive.
But I suppose also at the same time, it's not putting too much judgment on the outcomes of those things when you do try something new, isn't it? You try.
No,
and
but
learn
like you
really
did with
fun.
your dad, you tried it and yeah, it didn't quite work, but it's okay. Like you learned a lot from it, you know what I mean? And that's what I always think is like, like I said, yeah, I always say you never fail, you never fail, you always learn. And that's, I think my mindset is but for a brief moment might get me down, but I'm very quick to snap out of it again, thinking, right, what can I learn? What have I learned from that? How can I get better? How can I do more?
And you also, I think I've come to learn as well, is that you realise that if you spend too much time down in those situations and down in those moments, you can't be the best version of yourself because you know you're not being congruent with what that means. Like you have to not overwork so that then you can still perform at a high level. You need to not be agitated and not get results or not get answers because you want to be around Freddie and be the best dad. You know,
100%.
I know that I want to go home and see Jade and not just pile a load of business crap onto her. Like, you know, I want to just be able to go home and go, I'm with my wife, I'm with my friend, like I should be able to enjoy it. So it's kind of like you want to keep learning, but instead of just going, oh, I'm shit, or I've fucked up, or I'm terrible, you just go, okay, I've made a mistake or I've done something wrong. What have I learned? Okay, I've learned. Okay, next time, that's cool. Now move on. Like
The amount I've
like
learned over the years, like the balancing act that you play. When I become a personal trainer, I was the classic. Like, I want everyone to love me, and I'm gonna end up just piling so much stuff onto yourself. There's just again learn over the years to know that. I used to get into conversation with people that I wrote like just nobodies, and you get into sort of an argument and disagreements, and just you realize over time, just like what's important, what is the most important thing, like for me and my family and my career, like what is that, and like I said, you do make mistakes, but the mistakes are nowhere near as much as they used to be. And that's the key. So yeah.
Mate, it's been good.
Oh mate, I've loved it. It's been good. It's just a little chat, isn't it?
It's good. It's not, and also it's nice to be in this position where you kind of feel like you can have a chat, and yet it's going to potentially help someone. Yeah, someone who's like a new dad, like, or going to be a parent, or starting a business and thinking, actually, I'm going to have a family in the future. Like, to hear what it's like from the other side of it. You know, we can only do this conversation by, you know, if you just worked a menial job and not being rude to people, but if you just worked something that didn't really have a major impact on things, that you're just another number, you kind of don't really want to you won't be inspired by anything. Whereas like if you're trying to strive for better and give better in the future, you know, we've both worked hard to be able to be in this position where this is part of our job. Having a chat is actually helping other people, and that's what we like doing. So, mate, it's been a pleasure. If anyone wants to check you out, where can they find you on Instagram?
Yeah, so it's at Karl Stinchcomb DTN on Instagram.
Amazing, bud. Well, thank you very much for your time, bud. It's been good fun, and I look forward to seeing you on our next shoot.
Yeah, have a good week, my man.
You too, mate. Speak soon.
Bye, buddy. Bye.
Ciao.